I think the chances are very good, at least early on.
Oh,
I
wow.
think first half of the season, and I don't mean be terrible, but I mean have growing pains, struggle, because Ben Johnson, I mean, he laid it out there. He's asking him to do, like, Caleb has been the ultimate backyard quarterback, you know, and those are wild plays off schedule, running, using his legs, you know, making these great throws when the play's broken. And Ben Johnson's asking him to do something totally different and play on schedule. And part of me thinks, and maybe this is because obviously I've covered basketball for so long, does the coach need to adjust a bit? He's trying to fit Caleb into playing like Jared Goff or somebody like that. And do you need to adjust a bit to the player? But look, it didn't work out last year. They let Caleb play. So I think Ben Johnson's plan is to break him down to the root and then rebuild him and then let his athleticism take over when he can play on schedule. And I think the question is, will that break Caleb mentally? And I would say if it does, then he's not that guy anyway. But I don't think it will necessarily. But I'm saying some people would look at that like, man, that's really going to frustrate this kid, break his spirit. If it does that and he can't recover, then he wasn't going to be that superstar guy anyway.
I feel that Ben Johnson summarized where Caleb is perfectly, and where this process is perfectly. And it is an entirely different system with shifts and motions. And he talked about there being multiple calls where if we get this look, it's the first call. If we don't get that look, you kill the call. There's elements to this which are challenging for any quarterback, and it's challenging for any quarterback to learn a new system. The real advantage here for Caleb is he is so young. So yeah, he did have a totally different system, but he at least has been in the NFL for a year, and he's been through games, and he's been through all that part of it is over. So now it's just a function of how quickly he learns this system, and it's going to take some time, and he's going to build some reps. And I'm sure, to your point, what Ben Johnson's going to have to do and what the coaching staff's going to have to do is say, okay, what does he do really well is to get closer to the season, and now you pare it down. So initially you throw it all in, and you know guys can look like they're drowning, but then you pull it back in and it gets a lot easier, and now a guy can really.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a bit, Coach, but there's a reason for it. What you're describing they're doing, is that just your gut, or like did you read that?
No, he just said it. He said there's more shifting, there's motioning, there's multiple calls.
No, but because what you described at the very end is exactly what the local Chicago reporters are saying is the plan, which is to try to, by the end of training camp, have figured out, okay, we have tried out our full menu of everything. And if that's 12 things, you know, and 12 concepts or whatever, these 5 he's been excellent at. So we are then going to build the house off the base of that. So the reason I asked was because I was just going to compliment you. Like, it's either because I read that and that's how I figured it out, and it seemed like you just intuited that that's what he would do. And so I think that all of this is good for Caleb. I think, and again, people can say, Nick, you're being biased here. It's fine. I don't mind that he's struggling early in camp, because it does mean they are not simply doing, all right, let's just run the stuff he likes. Let's just do the stuff he's good at, because he does need to grow and learn. And last year was, in a lot of ways, I don't want to say a wasted year, but close to it, because multiple offensive coordinators, he got the hell beat out of him. Like, there's not a lot to build off of except for what not to do. What I will say is this. If he struggles throughout the year, you know, he has another bad year, then he's not the guy that I thought he was going to be.
Okay. So it's kind of funny because what Mangini's saying, it's not intuitive. It's just what coaching is. I mean, you know, like that is literally what you do with coaching. You try to figure out what are they good at, and this is like literally one of like my earliest takes that I've ever had on this channel is the idea of what what a coach is there for, and how they have to figure out what are you good at, what are you not good at. Can we elevate what you're not good at and now make it something that you are good at? Can we just make it average? Do we have to hide it? Do we have to sweep it under the rug? Do we not address it at all? You know, like what are the options here? And so it makes total sense. What I find interesting though is is what Ben Johnson's approach to coaching is and what he's looking to do with Caleb. It sounds to me, based off of what Mangini said and reportedly of what Ben Johnson is saying, is that he wants Caleb Williams to essentially make a lot of decisions, at the line of scrimmage. And I just listened to an interview where Shanahan pretty much says the exact opposite of what he likes to do with his quarterbacks, where he's like, I'm the one who's going to be thinking all about all of this. I'm going to be the one who's making all of the decisions. I want you to think as little as possible, right? Like, in essence, it's pretty much like you're there to execute the offense that I'm putting in place for you, and I'm the one that's spending all week game planning, trying to figure out all the things the defenses are going to do, all the ways that we can put our offense in a position to succeed the best. So when it's time for you, all you have to do is just play. Like, you don't have to worry about any of the protections, any of this other type of stuff. And he referenced times with when he was coaching like Kirk Cousins and Purdy and all of this, and that like it makes it easier for the quarterback to prepare for the game also throughout the week. That it's like it's just like you're outsourcing for a quarterback. You're outsourcing all of that to the coach, and the coach is like, "This is my job. This is what I'm here for, man. This is literally what I'm here to do. Like, this is what my expertise is. Let me do all the thinking. Let me do all this work, so you can just worry about playing and executing at the highest level." And I love that. That is where I'm cut from in terms of how I liked to be coached. I always wanted to be a robot, no matter what sport I played, whether it was baseball, basketball, soccer, football. It's like, I just want to be a robot out there. I don't want to have to figure out anything else. That's what practices are for. But I'm just, when it's time for a game plan, tell me exactly what you want me to do, and I'm going to do that exact thing. That is what I'm going to do. And everything else is just going to just going to happen. That's the way how I love to do it. So like a coach like Kyle Shanahan, I made the joke, I was talking in the comment section, I was like, Kyle Shanahan was my coach. Man, I'm in the NFL. Obviously being tongue-in-cheek, but like, that's my approach. Sounds like Ben Johnson's actually likes to do differently, unless I'm mistaken. Which shout out, because I talked to Travis about that interview, who he also watched the interview as well, listened to the interview as well. So I'm curious if I'm slightly mistaken here. But it is interesting. It does show you how there's just different philosophies and different approaches to coaching. And listen, this idea that, if Caleb struggles in year 2, what does it all mean, this or that? It could mean that, like, the style that Ben Johnson of offense that he wants to run might not be conducive to Caleb Williams. And then that would be on Ben Johnson to find a way through that, to change it. But at the same time, it is interesting because you do, as a head coach, need to figure out what, how do you get the best out of your players, out of your quarterback. And sometimes it is change them. Sometimes it's let them be. Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle. Sometimes it's changing your own personal philosophy. There are different ways to kind of go about this. I mean, it's definitely different. We could use someone because really the only coach right now in the NFL who's really had this is actually Andy Reid, because he's the one who's been coaching for the longest and has had just many different types of quarterbacks, right? I mean, he's had just a collection from Donovan McNabb to Alex Smith to Brett Favre to Michael Vick to Mahomes. I mean, just all wildly different quarterbacks. He did not coach them all the same way. He had his system, he had his philosophy, which is very similar, but in terms of what he would expect from a quarterback and what he would, the amount of runway he would give each quarterback is very different. The way how he coaches and Patrick Mahomes is night and day different from that of Alex Smith. The amount of off the script plays that Andy's okay with Mahomes is nowhere close to what it was with an Alex Smith. And so that much is very, very much true. So you always got to adapt and change a little bit. But at the same time, when you have kind of your philosophy and your idea of how to win, And in a lot of ways, football, especially from a coaching perspective, can sometimes feel like it's just very much an equation. It's like, this is my equation. I'm a coach. My equation is X plus Y equals Z. I just got to get my quarterback. He's X. I got to get my team. That's Y. And that equals Z. And sometimes my quarterback fits into that. Sometimes he doesn't. And I got to keep finding quarterbacks until it fits in there. And it's why McVay is like, great, bring me Jared Goff. Okay, I've reached the end of that. Bring me Stafford. It's a better version of X. He didn't say, oh, God, I got to get me a Lamar Jackson now. That's not him. That's not McVay. That's not him. That's actually what makes someone like Andy Reid so brilliant, because he's so versatile. He can win with so many different style quarterbacks. And, you know, Sean Payton is reportedly very much treating Bo Nix like Drew Brees in that regard. And Russell Wilson failed to do the offense in a way that Sean Payton wanted it to be done, and it was like, you do not fit X for me. You're out of here. And again, sometimes it's the right way, sometimes it's the wrong way. It depends. And like I said, there's different types of coaches. There's different styles of coaching. If this was actually starting to break Caleb Williams, which I don't think it will, it may not be the way that definitely that maximizes him. Maybe it is. Again, I got no idea. But it's just like, this is one of those situations when you can have someone like a Shanahan. Another decent example of this, albeit different, is Kevin O'Connell, right? Kevin O'Connell runs his offense in a very like pure progression approach. So it's just very much like, Sam, I'm not trying to have you read the defenses at the line. Like, you know, it's just going to be very much like, I just want you to go through your progression. I don't care what's going on. I don't care about the motion. I don't care about anything that's happening on defense, whatever they're doing. If they're in zone, if they're in man, it's just very much like, these are the progressions. The play is all called. You're going to call a hike, and you're just going to go 1, 2. You're just going to go through it. It's just very simple, and it's just very straightforward. Not everyone runs an offense that way. And so it's just like, that was a way that he really simplified a way, for Sam Darnold, and obviously was incredibly successful. And you have some quarterbacks who really like, some quarterbacks don't like that at all. I think it's oh gosh, his name is completely slipped my mind now. Guy from the Rams, who was a grocery store clerk. He's a great quarterback. I can't believe I can't think of his name right now. It'll come to me as soon as I stop recording. But he's apparently very much anti pure progressions. I see his face. I can't believe it. I've literally watched him win the Super Bowl. Man, this is a bummer. But it is interesting though, because Bo Nix reportedly, like, Sean Payton put so much on Bo Nix's plate. And it was just like, I'm overloading you with everything, and you're just going to find your way through it. And it was a rocky start in the beginning. And then he was able to find his way through it. And now he's better for it. And so that's, in a way, that's kind of like what Ben Johnson is looking to do with Caleb Williams. It's like, let me just put everything on your plate and see how much you can eat, man. See what you can handle. And then we'll go from there. Because otherwise, I don't know. Right? Ben Johnson can watch film all day, every day about Caleb Williams, but he just has to see it. And the quarterback's name is Kurt Warner. I got there. And so, it's just one of those things where you have to just kind of let it unfold. You can't be so quick to just jump from conclusion to conclusion to conclusion to conclusion. The raw talent for Caleb is clearly there. And I think he will have a ton of success with Ben Johnson, but it is interesting. It is interesting hearing all the stuff that Ben Johnson wants to do with Caleb. It is making me think of the rate of success, the speed of success that Caleb will have with the Bears and Ben Johnson, and what to expect. And I want to get ahead of this because I already know so many people are going to try to jump at this and be like, oh, if Caleb can't handle this or that, or, and it's just like, there's just different ways to succeed in the NFL. There just really is. What Andy Reid asks of Patrick Mahomes is not what Harbaugh asks of Lamar Jackson. What Zach Taylor asks of Joe Burrow is not the same thing of Josh Allen. what Sean Payton asked Drew Brees to do is not the same thing that Andy Reid asked Donovan McNabb. Like, it's just, there's just different ways to go about doing it. Carson Wentz, from a talent standpoint, was fundamentally a better quarterback. Maybe not in the fundamentals, but from a pure talent standpoint, was better than Nick Foles. Nick Foles knew how to run an offense and execute the vision of the head coach infinitely better than Carson Wentz, which is what directly led to higher quality football. So, and Caleb wants to do it. See, there with someone like a Carson Wentz, there was like almost like a disinterest in it, like a not willing to do it, to the point where his own teammates would be like, dude, just take the check down. Like that, sometimes you just got to take the check down. And it was just like, yeah. And he just like could not do that. He could not get out of his own way, even though his talent was obviously very much there. Whereas Nick Foles like did not have that pure raw talent. It was just like, I just got to do what my coach says. If I just listen to my coach is going to put me in a position to succeed. I'm just going to execute the offense, and then there you go. It's going to lead to wins. And when you're not with a great coach, someone like Nick Foles, not going to win. It's really that simple. It can really be that simple. And right now, in the process of trying to figure out who Caleb Williams is, we just don't have all those answers. And different quarterbacks are going to have different levels of resilience. And someone said this to me, or not to me, but in the comment section. They're like, oh, he's supposed to be a generational talent. And it's like, I didn't know a generational talent needed to show that they are literally a generational talent in the first year or even the first 2 years. Like, Peyton Manning was a generational talent. It took him a minute or two. Like, Aaron Rodgers, a generational talent, didn't play for years in the NFL. Like, sometimes it just takes a second. Steph Curry, by definition, it's not even generational. He's one of one when it comes to shooting. It took him years to become Steph Curry. It took him literally years. Not to mention, even if you're supposed to be a generational talent and you don't quite get that, but you still are a really good or really great quarterback, there you go. Like, it is going to be interesting. To me, it's not so much on Caleb's talent. It's on his willingness to just essentially follow the rules, right? When the coach says, hey, Caleb, you're going to get in the huddle, and it's just going to be X plus Y equals Z. That's it. And if he's like, got it, and then he actually just does X plus Y equals Z, Caleb Williams clearly has the base level talent to be great. That's how, again, someone like Kirk Cousins survives. That's how someone like Derek Carr, trying to think of any other random examples, but it's just like, that's how a lot of these quarterbacks can still get through, and why they could struggle when they're not in a great situation. Why a quarterback like Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar can be significantly more resilient than some of these other quarterbacks. And I do believe that Caleb Williams has, one, shown a level of resiliency that I think has been pretty impressive considering what he's dealt with. And now it's kind of like, can you execute the offense as given to you? And if he can, he could still struggle with Ben Johnson and could actually absolutely fail with Ben Johnson. But then when he gets to the right coach with the right approach, could have absolute success. I mean, it's called it's a nuanced take is what it is. And again, at this point, I don't have any strong predictions one way or the other. I mean, outside of the fact that I do think that he will have success with Ben Johnson. And I also have faith that if Ben Johnson is trying to do things that are too complicated, he's not going to be stubborn. But I would blame Ben Johnson in that regard if that was the case. So it's fascinating, honestly. This makes it so much more interesting now that we also kind of got a little bit more of a glimpse as to what Ben Johnson is looking to do and how flexible he is with all of this. But those are just my thoughts I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and, you know, the chances that they could struggle in year 2 with the Chicago Bears? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.